You're going to have to put up with that again for a little while. Oh, good morning. I don't know what sort of picture you're going to get this morning or what sort of service you're going to get because one little bit and piece that brings these pictures to you for some reason is just has gone AWOL, US. And no matter what I do, I can't make it work. It's a piece of charges, and it's been on overnight altogether, but still seems not to be working this morning. So I do apologize for that, and I apologize for the late start. Apologies. But there ain't much I can do about it. When you get what they call a catastrophic failure, that's it. There's not much that can be done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the papers as we normally do, or at least look at some of the headlines. And then I will play you a nice, pretty piece while I double check to see what sort of picture we're getting, and whether, in fact, we can do anything about this booster that we have. Hey, rowdy. Right, let's go to the paper, shall we? And hopefully this will not recur, because I shall stamp on this particular piece of equipment and send it back to the maker and say it came damaged in the post. But mostly it's all about Harry. Harry. I'll tell you, that was my father's nickname. He was Henry, but everybody called him Harry. And believe me, I think that this Harry makes more mistakes than the Harry that I knew as a father. Now Harry admits there's no way back, he says. Right, what's he been doing? He's been slagging off his own family. It's like me sitting here and saying, my mum was a child beater, my father was a thief, and all my aunts and uncles were pickpockets. Oh, hello, dear. Here, I've come home. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's essentially what's happened, isn't it? That's what we're facing at the moment. And now Harry admits there's no way back. He's overstepped the mark, and perhaps at long last he's beginning to realize it. The son is the villain Harry calls dangerous. He's had a go at Camilla. Now, that I can sort of understand because his mother was an icon. The British public took to her enormously, and Camilla obviously looks as if she's the usurper. And she was, there's no question that she and Charles were dallying a little while he was still married to Diana. But it is said that, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but it came out of a good source, that Charles, who always loved his grandma, the Queen Mother, and took her advice, went to her and said, but what am I going to do, Nanny? I'm stuck with a wife that I can't control or don't care for. The marriage is falling apart. I love Camilla. And apparently the response from the Queen Mother was, do what you forebears have always done, dear, take a mistress. Sage advice. So for those of us who actually, particularly if you've covered a royal tour, are warned, don't get your camera or your microphone too far, because the royal family's tummy doesn't rumble, they don't burp, they don't hiccup. As the magic really behind the gloss isn't as magic as one might think. So he's saying Camilla was the naughty one, the wicked witch. What does go on in families? The Daily Express, Harry's cruel attack on Camilla crosses the red line. Well, basically, of course, one would expect that she is the Queen Consort. And having a go at Camilla and saying some of these things, whether they be proven or not, is very spiteful and hurtful. Now, let me tell you what my view is on this, and that is that what he's doing now is he's attacking our institution. And I have a lovely friend who he and I cross paths, but we both have the same objectives. First of all, we're rugby addicts and want to see rugby grow at grassroots level. And secondly, we both love Kosovo, believe it or not. And that's the ambassador to Kosovo until recently, Rory O'Connell. And I had to, he and I had a bit of a row the other day because I said, hey, listen, what I support is the constitutional monarchy. And there are 9 or 10 constitutional monarchies within a stone's throw of us, and all have stable government. To which his response was, hey, 3 prime ministers in as many months, that's stable government. But in fact, as I said to him in return, is despite the fact there's a sword line in the House of Commons, we don't have people roaring in with pistols. We don't have violent overthrow attempts parliamentary system, and neither do the other 8 or 9 constitutional monarchies, because it is a fairly settled and stable form of government. So Rory and I will agree to disagree on that, but nonetheless, what Harry is doing now, in my opinion, is because he is attacking a member in a personal way of a constitutional monarchy, which is our form of government and which is a good form of government, is that I find offensive. And I'm sorry, Harry, if I had any sympathy for you, not that I really did, but it's disappeared. I don't have any sympathy for you. The Metro. Britain has had enough. And apparently a lot of people are the same as me. They actually have said his popularity has plunged. The paper says Britain has had enough. We've had enough, Harry. Now, I'm not sure whether I, because of all the uproar this morning, whether I can actually find this, but we our good friend Rosie Hayes, no relation, I may say, but we've been good colleagues in the media business for many, many years. And she did a little piece by going out and talking to people. So let's just see what they had to say. We did play it yesterday, but here's the reaction as it was 24 hours ago.
His comments are family issues that I think need to be resolved between and among family members and not in the public sphere.
Any feelings about Harry?
None whatsoever. I think he's making money for himself and his wife and his family. I can kind of understand that, but he's causing a bit of trouble by doing so.
I think it is years of him struggling from the loss of his mother and never really dealing with grief.
Is he fair in what he says about Prince William?
It's hard to say. There's two sides to every story, and the truth lies in the middle.
I'm actually very in support of Harry. I feel like he's been treated really badly, so I think if that's how he needs to deal with it, that's probably fine.
He needs to be able to deal with it in a way that is beneficial for him, but overall I don't think you can put him down too hard.
Should he come back here and live, do you reckon?
I think again that's really up to him, to be honest.
Would you like him back here?
No view. No view.
Well, there we are. That is just a little snapshot of how some of the younger people particularly are reacting. In the Eye, it has Camilla on the front page in a picture, but its main story is NHS strikes, hopes rise of a breakthrough with a plan to backdate pay. So any increase is they'll get a nice little tidy sum in their bank accounts. And I wish I could get a tidy sum in my bank account. Is nobody seems to want to pay after Christmas. Right, the Mirror, work harder. It's the Mirror, of course, will always look at the non-Tory side, and Steve Barclay has told the NHS staff, you better work harder for this extra money you're getting. Now, I'm ambivalent about this as well. My experience of the frontline staff is that they are second to none. I have no quibble whatsoever with those. The administration, the so-called NHS as such, not the medical side of things, is in dreadful shape. So if we're telling them work harder, yes. We're talking these overworked and underpaid nurses to work harder, no. And we must really be very careful about how we treat them. Having said that, it is the NHS has got the whole system into such a muck because it wanted shorter hours for itself, so it gave doctors shorter hours and so on and so forth, and the system can't cope. Why? Because it is 3 or 4 years ago, that overtime, and it was a vocation. Nobody counted hours, right? You went in on a Monday morning and you worked until you'd done off everything a Monday afternoon or Monday evening. Now that's not the case. It's jing, let's put the card in, jing, and in and out, and that's what you get paid for. Well, when you've got that mentality, what you get is a very poor service and a very poor product, and that's what we've got. So if he's saying work harder, in other words, get back to your vocation status, then I'm with him. I'm absolutely with him. The Times, overloaded NHS turns to cabins in car parks. What sort of story is that? Which newspaper is that? The Times. Where's the Times been? When I contracted Parkinson's in 2014 or thereabouts, and when I first went down to the hospital in Brighton, they got cabins in the parking lot. That's 10 years ago. Yeah, just 10 years this year. Is now that the Times is suddenly coming out with cabins in car parks. For God's sake, if that's the state of my own profession, media, everything needs pulling apart and putting back together. It's absolutely bloody crazy, and it makes me shudder to think of the people that are moving in and running some of our newspapers. No wonder the sales are going down. It's got nothing to do with the internet. It's to do with the quality of the papers. The Daily Telegraph, UK willing to send tanks to the Ukraine as British aid workers go missing. Oh dear, well, you're always going to have people go missing in a war zone. I mean, I've been in a few of them, and yeah, in many ways, it is difficult if you don't come home at night. Are you at work, or have you been lifted? It's a difficult one. But anyway, we're sending more tanks to Ukraine. That conflict continues. The Russians find reasons to have a hiatus in their attacks, and they seem to be using it to regroup and try and bolster their own armed forces, who have turned out not to be the much vaunted Russian bear at all, but a bunch of conscripts who really don't want to be in Ukraine any more than anybody else wants them to be, except Mr. Putin. Right, I'm sorry, Vladimir, but that's the way I feel. The Daily Star. Right, is Earth facing a solar blast as powerful as 1 billion nukes, and so it's got Jim Kirk on the front of their paper from Star Wars. It's a space burp, Jim, but not as we know it. And apparently there is a massive explosion, huge in the universe, but it's very little to do with us. And the chances of it affecting Earth in any way whatsoever, and anyway, not for millions of years, is very slight. But the Star always likes an alternative, And the Financial Times, breakthrough in talks with Brussels over Ireland, a trade impasse. See, these are some of the things we forget about. We forget that there's been an almighty row over the border with Northern Ireland, which is part of the GB, and Ireland, which is part of the EU. There was no problem when we were all in the EU, but since we've moved out, then suddenly that becomes a border, and it goes through the North Sea. Only officials can do this. Only bureaucracy can do this. Sit down with a bloody sandwich and start to talk sense. Oh, no. What they do talk about very nicely is how much extra they will put into their packet and how many systems they can actually use to their advantage to stuff money in their pockets. It's disgraceful. Our leadership is non-existent, and there is no sense of duty whatsoever. None. And people of my age who remember a softer age when duty at all levels, including the home level, was considered to be part of a civilized society, is what's happening at the moment. Is I mean, I'm sorry, let me tell you, it assaults my eyes to see ladies walking around with these bloody great black boots. Nothing can be uglier. I mean, I would have no problem whatsoever in bypassing them in the streets. There's not going to be any love lost from me if they're going to dress that way. What happened to elegance? What happened to the things that we should take advantage? And a very good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm glad to hear that. You've got a wire too.
It's already into the internet.
It's already in the internet?
Yeah.
Can I can plug that into something, can I?
Plug that into your internet and it should work.
All right. Wowee. Now,
Right.
Where's my internet?
All you got to do at the end of it is roll it up
And put it back there.
and stick it back there.
Now, we started off this program with me dashing around like a chicken with my head cut off and with problems. And what happens is all these super people at the White Hart, they take a look at it and say, the guy is in trouble. Let's help him. Now, I expected the way he would help is to bring me a beer. But no. It's a little early even for me. But now I've got to figure out where the internet is. But nonetheless, what I'll do is I'm going to play a little a little something or other, and we will get it. We will get it. Let's see. We'll play our art show. That's what we'll do, and that gives us time to see how we're going. So, very avuncular today, because I may be asked to play Father Christmas. Nobody's asked me yet. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, your line. Your name's on the list, I'm sure.
Ah, I'm glad that you can give me this assurance. It makes me feel much happier. Sarah Fitch Hayes and myself talking art as usual. She knows all about it. I know absolutely nothing, which is a good way to be. Mm-hmm. What have you been doing this last week with the oils?
Oh, I've been very, very busy. Very busy.
Right. Okay. Tell all then.
Way.
Tell all.
My voice is gone, so I've got a bit of a cold. So I have to pick up my huskiness. Do I sound sexy?
Well, I bet your husband's pleased about that.
But yeah, no, I'm working on I'll tell you what I'm doing at the moment. I've done the Harvey's bottle. That's hanging up in the actual back of the brewery at the moment because they're deciding what to do with it.
Which brewery?
You know, Mr. Miles Jenner.
Oh, you got hold of Miles, did you?
Yeah, I did. I finally walked in and I managed to get hold of him.
Oh, right. Yeah, good. Was he pleased?
He loved it, and he said, "Look, I think it's a bit too photographic for postcards and things." I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. You know, what do you think? How would you like to use it?" And he goes, "Oh, well, maybe I could have it hanging. It could go in one of our Harvey's estates or pubs or whatever." And I said, "Well, why not?" So he's hanging it on the wall, and he's deciding what to do with it.
Oh, excellent, yes, excellent. Oh, yeah, well, yes. Well, tell us, what did you think of Miles?
He seems like a nice guy.
He's a nice man, isn't he? Yeah.
Nice,
and he's very good at what he does. I mean, he's basically the chief brewer as well as the chief executive.
He brews the beer himself.
Oh, indeed. He's in charge of it, yeah. In fact, I think, if my memory serves me correct, is when you go into his office, it actually says chief brewer. It doesn't sort of say boss man. Oh, well, that's splendid. We've got to get some pictures of that hanging on the wall in the brewery. Yeah.
It's actually in this shop, you know, the brewery shop, where he's got a little office in the back of it. That's
yes.
And then one of the kind gentlemen to put it on the wall because they didn't want it damaged, which I thought was really lovely. So
yeah,
nicely
absolutely. That's terrific. Oh, I'm very pleased that you got hold of him, and very enterprising that you went in and sort of stamped your little foot and said, "Hey, I got a bottle here, he can see."
I got a little bottle.
Oh, that's terrific. And I'm sure that Max will insert a picture of what we're talking about because he's got one in last week's programme. So that bottle is doing very nicely for us.
It's hanging well.
It is.
It's hanging around.
Now, in that brewery, did you get any ideas for more?
Oh, I have, yes.
Yeah, right, okay. Tell us what you would choose from the brewery.
Well, I've got 4 or 5 other bottles. I'm going to choose 4 or 3 out of them, and I'm going to do a series of postcards. I'm still going to roll with that, because I think once I get the colours behind it, the pop arty pastel colours behind each painting, I think he'll roll with that for next year.
Oh, right, great.
I really do.
Yeah.
And do a calendar. He was saying the idea of calendars. I said, well, I could easily, do 12 bottles for each month.
Oh, smashing. So commissions might come from it.
Well, who knows? You'll be able to win it, right?
That's excellent. That's excellent.
I'm so thrilled.
Yeah. Is popping the bottle in is...
I've also got an update. I have sold 4 paintings from the gallery.
All right. Now tell us all about that as well.
Well, we did a Black Friday in November. We did a little promotion. And I don't know if I said it in the last interview, but I sold 2 love hearts. I sold some prints.
What?
And some prints. And I did a
rock
painting. And I sold a little miniature fab lolly painting.
Oh,
not
terrific.
Knobbly bobbly.
Right, and this was all out of the gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I asked you last time if you track where they go. Do you know where these went?
I knew 2 of them went. I think I have spoken about this actually now. 2 of them went to one of my regular customers, which is fantastic, and I thank her forevermore.
So the Americans love your stuff, don't they?
The Americans.
Yeah. Didn't you say you went to America?
I went to America, but that you were talking about. Years ago I went, 13, 14 years ago. So since I've had this style, I haven't been to the States.
Right, okay.
But we're going to go there next year, aren't we, Keith? I think.
Well, you're coming. It looks as if we got our thing on in March.
Oh right, so it's still going ahead, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's we haven't had the full okay yet, but when you don't know, you can be fairly sure it's been
Because I
considered.
need notice to grab some time off work actually, and and
I mean,
just have a little chat
if
with
the airline isn't interested, and I mean that will be good material for you, I would have thought.
Fantastic.
Have you ever painted planes?
I haven't actually, no.
Well,
Probably in the sky,
how
in the
does it feel?
distance or something. What, to paint a plane?
Yeah.
What would be unusual? Be a new start, be a new chapter in my
Well, I
life,
must say
guess.
you're always very daring.
I don't have any as such, but I try and grow a pair and get on there and do it. That's what you have to be an artist. You have to.
That's great. I mean, just to remind people, Sarah likes a lot of the iconic stuff from the United States, and paints some of the stuff, including bubble gum.
Well, the next is the Bazooka Joe. That's the one I'm looking at. But at the moment, I'm doing something a bit unusual. I'm doing like 3 lollipops. Like those old-fashioned swirly ones, and they twist around. And they've got all different colours. And in the background, I'm doing comic strips behind them.
Oh, that's great. Which comic strips?
Just a random comic I bought in Brighton. Just a black and white. So I don't want it too colourful because it's too distracting from the lollipops. So I decided just to have it nice and simple, black and white. So that's on the finishing stage. So next time, I'm sure in the new year at some point,
we'll have something to look at. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Then when you said background comics, I always think of Dick Tracy as an American comic thing because Dick Tracy goes back to I think the 40s or the 50s. But in those days, he had a wristwatch that you could speak. He could speak to headquarters and so on.
Bit James Bond.
Yeah, and that was in the 50s, right?
Oh wow.
Now what's happened in the 2020s is now you can get this watch, can't you, from Google or whatever, and it's like,
hey,
definitely
Google,
marvelous things.
Yeah.
I mean Dick Tracy. Yeah. And I used to love the thing that when he hit somebody, they would do a little cloud, and it would say "wow"
like
or
Batman.
"sock" or that's right. Yeah. Well, I would guess that Tracy probably came out of the same stable as Batman. So
definitely enjoyable.
So are these old comics or new comics or?
I think not that old. Quite modern, really, but I probably would have preferred an old vintage comic. Yeah. But it kind of looks it looks good. There
was a lovely old bookshop in the lanes for many years, and they had lots of comics. It's gone now, unfortunately, like a lot of these things. But anyway, so you're going to do a background of comics with the 3 lollipops.
Exactly that.
Hey, that's very creative. That's very good.
Nearly off the press.
Now, what else have you been on to this week?
Well, I think I've been looking after this little rescue dog we've had for the last 6 weeks. She was very unsettled.
Oh, this is Minnie.
This is Minnie.
Minnie. That's a Minnie Mouse.
She was very unsettled, and now we're just we're
how's Minnie doing?
And she's doing a lot better than she did. She's not yapping at the other dogs and wailing and screaming as much. She's really unsettled, totally. And toilets around the house, but now it's like very occasional.
Yeah, that's great. Is she affectionate to you?
Oh, she is, yeah. She's always cuddling up to us, and she's very playful. She loves playing tug of war. And she picks up her toy. If I say toy, she'll run and get. I taught her to get a toy, and she just goes and gets a toy and she starts playing.
That's great. Now let's just because it is the end of the year and we're heading towards Christmas, but let's just recap some of the things that you have done this year while you've been with us.
Wow. Do you know what? My head's
not all of them, but some of them. There were 2 or 3 that you did in the old studio, for instance. What were those? Remind me what those were.
Oh, golly, I did a large fab, a large knobbly bobbly.
Right.
I've created some prints. Golly, I'm gonna have to remember now. I did a caramel one. The caramel. Do you remember seeing that one at all?
Right, I think I remember that.
Caramel Fantastic, it's called. It's a large caramel flavoured milkshake.
Right. Yes, that's right. Yes.
And I did the bubble gum.
Yes.
I did the bottle of Harvey's.
Yeah. And did you get a bottle similar?
I think it was a print I got together. I think the Coca-Cola I hadn't actually quite finished. You know, I actually hadn't. I've done the one that's gone to Panama.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Last year or the year before.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've you know, my paintings take a while to do. So each time I do them,
Well, I'm sure they're not
it's not
instant.
like a quick
No.
fix. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, Sarah, can you do that
No,
by
adding
next
water,
week?
no.
Yeah. But it's lovely because when Nita asked me to, you know, do a whole show, I just couldn't get it all together that quickly. You know, I'm honest with people now. I say, if you I'd love to do a show with you guys, whoever offers it. But I say you need to give me at least a year's notice, at least, because it takes like weeks and weeks, like 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how big the painting is.
Right.
So yeah, it does take time.
Well, we could do the steps. It occurs to me that one of the things that we might do, if your gallery were agreeable, is we should do a programme down in your gallery.
I could ask.
So, will you ask? Because A, it would be nice to be surrounded by art and their atmosphere. As much as we love this hotel, it is a hotel, and the app you work within would be very nice to reflect, I think.
It's give you an impression.
Secondly, it's where you sell a lot of your pictures from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to. I should ask the team.
And thirdly, it's in the lanes, isn't it?
It's just in the lanes, yeah, next to
In
the
the lanes,
business,
yeah, which are themselves are sort of a bit artistic. Have you painted the lanes at all?
I haven't, but I actually have taken photographs ready to paint.
Ah, right.
But it's something I've got on the back burner.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
something I
yeah.
would-
Well, I mean,
revisit,
there's an awful lot
yeah.
on the back burner, but the nice thing is all these things on the back burner, you surprise us, and you come in and sit down and say, oh, by the way, I finished this one. You know, we've forgotten that you took the photograph. That's excellent. That's excellent. Now, once again, we can't help it. We've got to talk about Christmas. What's happening at
It's only
Christmas?
on Sunday. 5 days away.
Oh, my goodness, is it that close?
It's the 20th today.
Oh, God, I gotta get my suit out.
You've got 5 days until your census.
Absolutely, but and several people are going to have to get to not only the milk but some brandy in it as well.
And your carrot. Can you do a carrot as well? And the glitter.
Yeah, why not? So, anything special? I mean, are you painting anything special? Are you doing anything special? What's happening in the Sarah Fitch household?
Lots of family, just go and see my parents, I guess, and then we're going to go and see the other set of grandparents. You know,
Right.
Darren's mummy and daddy, and go and see them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tell me, Sarah, just because you know, I'm fascinated, and I know a lot of viewers are fascinated because your art is quite different, and actually your approach is quite different. So as you go through Christmas, do you sort of see things and think, oh, I'd like to do that. Oh, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, lots of times.
Yeah. What sort of
I
things do
see
you
the
look
Christmas
at?
canes. You know the canes, the
Right.
twisty
Yes,
candy.
yes.
So I kind of think to myself,
The striped
oh,
canes, yeah.
Yeah, striped canes. Yeah, I'd love to do a series of those at Christmas. You know, maybe all different colours going on the canvas,
Right.
or you know, just one of those Christmas decorations with the silver, you know, the balls and the balls.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
the balls,
Right.
just
That's
have
what I
them,
got in
the
mind actually,
reflections.
because some of them are quite pretty. Some of them are quite pretty.
They are,
The
really
balls that you
stunning.
have on the Christmas tree and so on. How about the tree itself? Ever thought about painting
I
it?
have thought about painting a Christmas tree.
Well, then what we've got is we've got an objective for next Christmas.
So we've got 12
Between
months.
now and then, you're going to have to paint a Christmas tree because when we sit down this time next year, you can look over there and say, here is the Christmas tree.
Whether we finished or not, that's another thing. We can try it.
Well, we'll push it. Yeah. Okay. It's coming up to the new year. Any different thoughts? Any different approach?
I'd like to be a bit more. I'm going to keep the style I'm going with, but I'm just going to do some experimentations with things next year.
Right.
And
when you say experimenting, give us a clue as to
something a bit
sort
more
of
imaginative.
experimentation.
Something I sort of feel like although I'm putting my slant on these things I paint, I want to try and do something a bit more imaginative, you know, a bit more creative. Something not quite sure. I mean, I did Max's someone you knew, wasn't it? A vase of flowers tonight.
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen now.
Yeah, and that's completely out of my brain and head and whatever. But it's like, I don't know, just something a bit, or do the work I do, but make it more surreal and make it like. So the cola bottle, say for instance, you've got a goldfish swimming inside it or something like that. So you've got the photorealism going on, but it's kind of fantasy as well. It's got that surreal.
I mean, have you got Dali in mind?
I love Dali. He's one of my favourite artists.
Yes, because he paints sort of clocks dripping over it, doesn't he? That sort of thing. Totally. Yeah, I'm no great artist, but he is very impressive. That sort of. So you've got that sort of thing in mind.
Yeah, not necessarily looking like Dali's, but the idea of it really being
doing something unusual,
but being creative. So I'm actually superimposing other sort of metamorphic things going on as such, and then it's kind of on the same canvas. So that's one stream, and I thought about doing some paintings for halls of residence, just finding another market to get myself out there.
Yeah.
So just a bit of just throwing a few experiments and just being more creative and maybe some imaginary things as well.
Imaginary things?
Imaginary, like characters.
Right.
Painting it.
I mean, when you say that, do you mean sort of bizarre characters that would come out of people's dreams, or?
I was thinking maybe a children's book, perhaps.
Aha.
Perhaps.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just an idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to sort of come out, because they say 20% is experimentation is good for you.
Yeah.
If you just stay in the same zone all the time, I think you get stagnated, and you've got to be feeling that passion that you've inside you, and to keep that alive. You know, it's no harm in experimenting.
I have to say, anybody viewing it, Sarah is always full of surprises, because although basically Marmite is the we have a Marmite sort of iconic thing. But I mean, you do sort of special things online, don't you? And
I do Instagram.
All sorts of different types of art. You're very creative and always thinking about new stuff, which is great, really. I mean, are you tempted to sort of say, look, those things have sold, so I'll carry on with that theme?
Oh, I'm going to carry on with the same style, but what I'm saying is I think I'm just going to do some experimentational things.
Right.
So it keeps it going, keeps it alive, and you know, and if something does pop out the bag, then I can go, oh, I might try these, you know, sell those. So it's just, being an artist, you have to keep your mind healthy. You can't stay stagnated, you have to be on it all the time, change. You have trends of things going in and out of fashion. So it's always good to sort of keep yourself there, you know, just...
Now, just before we finish, we are on an age of protest, and Max was very exorcised because some group that were objecting to oil were throwing things on things in the gallery. And I guess there are other ways of defacing paintings, and people do it. I mean, how upsetting do you find that?
I find it very upsetting. You know, someone's put their love and thought into a painting, and some person just doesn't agree with climate, you know, because of climate change, and throws it at someone else's art. What's the artist got to do with climate change? I mean, buying high toxic oil paints or something that's polluting the world? I don't think so. But you know what I mean? I think to myself, that seems a bit unfair. Maybe transportation, throw it at the bus or something, or you know, it lets out lots of. You know,
could we perhaps have you do a painting of these faces with a noose around the neck?
Oh, I don't think I want to paint that, to be honest, Kate. That seems a way to me.
Well, that punishment is out.
I'm definitely going to be doing that.
So, it's been a great year. We've done some interesting things, some interesting programmes. And I shall be looking out to try and, if we do a year-end thing. The trouble with a year-end thing is it takes a lot of time and effort. And we are very small, but nonetheless, I hope that I can find a couple of things to put into some sort of year-end thing, and we will see you next year.
Absolutely.
And building up to going around about March to New York. And
fantastic. Well, we're looking out for that as well, definitely.
Perhaps we'll get American Express to sponsor it.
Happy Christmas.
Actually, before we go, where can people buy your artwork, and where can they find you on social media and contact you?
Yeah, sure. I can. Do that out. It's Instagram. Is Sarah with an H. Yeah, with an H. So that's Instagram. I've got my website. I've got myself walking to galleries and saying hi. So I think really mainly Instagram and my website are the two social. I mean, I have my Facebook page as well. I do have my Facebook page. So that's basically Sarah Chase Art on Facebook. So yeah, by all means, have a look on there as well.
People
Definitely.
can also buy your artwork from Art5 Gallery
Yes,
in Brighton.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I forgot. God, how can I forget that? Yep, so Art5 in Brighton. That's just off Ship Street. You know where the Mesmerist pub is? It's literally just 2 doors on the right-hand side from the Mesmerist.
Thanks. A very, very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Very Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas,
And to the family as well.
Thank you.
And to Minnie.
And Merry Christmas to you viewers.
Oh, Minnie, you're so lovely.
Isn't she lovely? Well,
We'll see Sarah in the new year. Right, okay. Let's do that first of all. I've checked with the picture and it is no screaming hell this morning, I'm afraid. But we think that Kevin, God bless him, has come up with a solution. The only thing is we're missing just a little bit of equipment, or just a little plug actually, to connect the thing up. So we will be better from here on in. I mean, it looks as though it's a permanent solution to a thing that's bugged the hell out of us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not put you through murder today, and to say toodle pip, and we will be with you tomorrow, fully armed and able to carry on as indeed we always plan to. So ta-ra for now, and we'll see you tomorrow. Yes, we will. Here we go.
Thank you.